Alright, so I'm not going to be so bold as to say that no one has ever made a bike like this before, but what I will say is that this is the first of its kind that I have ever seen. This is the Qlife Racer 20 by 4 inch version, and what makes this bike unique, in my perspective, is that it is built on a mountain bike frame. Most 20 by 4 fat tire bikes are either folding e-bikes or moped style bikes, and that leaves limited options for shorter riders. But if you are vertically challenged and looking for a mountain style e-bike, this one opens up a world of options for you. And I think a mountain bike style e-bike definitely has some advantages that are worth checking out. And is this bike going to be as cool as I hope it is? Let's hop on it and find out. Okay, so let's do a speed test here and check to see if the speedometer matches the GPS. We're on crushed gravel here. I weigh about 200 pounds. I don't remember what the bike weighs, but it's not very heavy. I'll put that information on the screen right here. I'm going to take off using throttle only, and we're going to see how fast we can get up to. They claim that this bike will do 28 miles per hour. We're going to see. Again, this is throttle only, me not pedaling anything at all. And let me go up and, yeah, we're in pedal assist level 5. It looks like the GPS matches the speed, so that's good. Though it does take GPS a little bit to catch up to the speed. We just hit 25 and a half, almost 26 now on GPS, or on the speedometer. 26 on the speedometer, 24 on GPS. And I'm pretty heavy, so it looks to be like it's kind of struggling to get up past that. Do a brake test here. So it does have mechanical brakes. They're not the best, but I mean, they do okay. They're adequate for stopping this little bike. So now I'm going to take off pedal assist level 5. I'm going to pedal and help it, and we're going to see how it does. I'm going to guess that it's going to be a lot more. Took about 2 cranks of the pedal for the pedal assist to kick in, but I'm going to guess already, I can see that it's a lot more responsive and accelerates a lot better with me pedaling along with it. So we're at 25 on the speedometer, 23 on GPS. 26, 27, about 27, but again, we're not at a full battery charge. It shouldn't make too much difference. Another brake test. Again, adequate. I'm going to go through all the various pedal assist level modes right now. I'm going to start off in 0 and just see what it's like to pedal this bike under my own power. I'm in 7th gear, which is where I normally ride an e-bike anyway. We do have the option to go down in gears if we need to. It's not bad. It's okay. I mean, you know, if you did run out of battery, you could pedal at home. For a really long ride, it would not be fun because it's a lightweight e-bike, but most e-bikes are pretty heavy just by default, so it's not like riding a normal bike, and these fat tires definitely show that. So I'm going to go up into assist level 1 now, and it made a little bit of a difference, but it's capping out at around 9 miles per hour up in a pedal assist level 2. That's where I definitely feel a difference, and it kicked in a lot harder. So it's capping out about 12, 13 miles per hour in pedal assist level 2. And in level 3, looks like it's capping out about 17 miles per hour. And this is a pretty comfortable ride right here. This is a little bit faster than I go on railing trails most of the time when I'm doing a casual ride. Normally I do it about 15 miles per hour, so I really do wish there was some nice middle ground between assist level 2 and assist level 3, but it is what it is. So 17 for level 3, level 4. Right around 21. Yeah, 21 almost. It spiked up to close to 22, but I'm going to say 21. Level 5. Keep in mind that the battery is quite low now, so it's capping out about 24. We got some voltage sag for sure. So if you ride this bike fast, you're going to run the battery down pretty fast. And if you ride it more conservatively, you should get a lot better life out of it. I'm going to go back down to 3. Now that I dropped down to level 3, some of those battery bars came back. I also think that this bike, for a short rider who has no other options, this bike is probably worth making the upgrade of a bigger battery for them. If you want that mountain bike style e-bike and you're a shorter rider and you got no other options, it's something to definitely consider. So full disclaimer, Qlife did send me this bike to review for free in return for a fair and honest review, and that's what I'm going to give them. But I don't have a lot bad to say about this bike based on its price point. This bike is listed at $600 and it is well worth it. Now there were some corners cut to keep the price down on that, but overall you're getting a pretty good value on this bike. The only real criticism I have of the bike is that it has mechanical brakes and kind of a small battery, but for that price point, I don't know what else you could expect. The other criticism that I have is that it is a bit of a small bike, and that is just by design. If you're a small rider, it's going to work out great for you, and if you're super tall, you're not going to like this one very much. A mid-sized rider can have some fun on it for a little while, but not on a long ride. All right, we'll do a walk around now, and I can show you what we get with this bike. As you can see, I've got the seat put up pretty high. I'm 5'10", so that's how high we got to put the seat. So that should give you an idea of how small this bike actually is. But up front, we get basic e-bike headlight. We got our bouncy forks, and you got some adjustment. You can lock them out if you need to. Really fat 20 by 4-inch tires here. We've got 160 millimeter mechanical brakes, and they do an adequate job of stopping the bike. Hydraulic would be better, but for as cheap as you can get this bike, we really can't complain for the price. Comfort grips here, good brake levers, headlight, horn button, and this is our control screen here. I'm not familiar with this control screen, so I don't know how to get into the menu settings to see if those are adjustable. That's something I might mess around with later. Over here we've got twist throttle for control, Shimano 7-speed Shimano shifter. As you can see, the handlebars have a really aggressive riding position, and if you are not short, you got to put the seat up, and it'll put you leaning forward quite a bit on this bike. This bike is going to be fun to ride around on short trips for like your average height rider, but this is definitely made for short people, which is awesome because it's really kind of hard to find a mountain bike style bike that comes in 20-inch that sits this low for shorter riders. Here's our battery. It's 10.5 or 10.4 amp hour battery. Now that sounds like a low number, and it is kind of the smallest amp hour battery that you can get for a 48 volt bike, but 10.5 amp hours on a 48 volt bike is more than like 13 on a 36 volt bike. So keep in mind that at this price point, that's actually pretty good. In the back here, we've got another 160 millimeter brake rotor. Our motor here is stamped 48 volt 20. It doesn't give a maximum wattage, but I think it's a 1,000 watt motor. I will put that information on the screen right here too. We do have some mounting points here to put a rear rack on here, so that's nice. Dual ring chain guard up here, and it's a fairly big sprocket up front. And we got a 7-speed cassette here with a Shimano tourney derailleur and a derailleur guard. Overall, plain Jane bike, but I like it, especially if you keep in mind that this is kind of geared towards shorter riders, which, like I said, I've not seen many 20-inch mountain bike style bikes. This is actually the only 20-inch mountain bike style bike I've seen that comes in an e-bike. Most 20-inch bikes for e-bikes are going to be like folding bikes or moped style, so I think this is really cool to have, especially if this is the style that you're looking for. And another quick addendum here, something I forgot to mention in my walk around. This paint job on this bike is absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you can really see it in the video, and the pictures don't do it justice. It looks like a kind of matte flat red in the photos on the Amazon website, but this is like a polished chrome red, and I mean, it just looks fantastic. Okay, so this bike, without a doubt, is definitely geared towards your shorter riders. As I showed you on the walk around, the seat is set pretty high, and it puts me in a very cramped riding position. Again, I'm 5'10", 200 pounds, and this is a pretty small bike for me. It feels like I'm riding like something a bit bigger than a BMX, a 20-inch BMX bike, which that's fitting because it is slightly bigger than a 20-inch BMX bike. This is definitely something that would be fun to have as a like zipping around on campgrounds kind of bike, but it is definitely not a long-range bike for someone of my size or bigger. I think they say that this bike will accommodate riders who are like 5'3" to 6'3". I would not believe the hype on that. I think anybody who's any taller than me is not really going to have a very good time riding this bike for very long. So keep that in mind. It's definitely geared towards short riders, which this is going to be a fantastic bike for a member of my family who is 4'11". Now, they're a little bit short for this, but we can make a few modifications to make sure that it's going to accommodate them, no problem. But the seat that comes on this is an old style post. We're going to get a smaller, we're going to get a more modern seat post and a thinner seat and put on here. So we've tested it out already. My 4'11" rider can fit on this bike the way it sits, almost. So if we get a thinner seat with a more modern seat post, and we may need to get some tires that are just like a little bit smaller, but with that being the case, this will accommodate a 4'11" rider, and which is nice because it's hard to find an e-bike for somebody who is that short. Now, one thing I do really like about this bike is that it's fairly lightweight and easy to handle. So if you're looking for a bike that is portable, this has some advantages in that weight department. One of the problems that you run into with 20-inch bikes is that most of them are either moped-style bikes, which are not very portable at all, or they're folding bikes. And folding bikes have a small footprint, but all of that stuff that makes them a folding bike will actually make them heavy and kind of unwieldy and actually harder to load and unload into a car. Now, this is not going to fit into a car, so if you want to transport a bike by car, a a folding bike is pretty much your only option. But like, as far as getting this bike in and out of my van, no problems at all. And it's actually very easy. And a lot of that is to attribute to how the weight is distributed on this bike. It's a fairly lightweight bike. It's deceptively lightweight because I really didn't expect it to be as light as it is until I got on it, but huge advantages there. So with this bike being a mountain style bike rather than a folding 20-inch bike, this has mountain bike handlebars, and it makes a world of difference in handling. Most of those folding bikes have like T-style handlebars, and you can switch them out to BMX bars, which is what I usually do on those folding bikes, but out of the box, they don't handle near as well as this bike does. Okay, we're going to take it up here on the railroad tracks and do a little bit of an off-road test. This bike is super light. I mean, lugging it up over these tracks was nothing, but on the tracks here we go. Yeah, it's doing it, no problems whatsoever. It's a rough ride. It is a rigid frame in the back. It's got some suspension up front with the suspension fork, but riding along on these tracks, it gets it done. This patch is pretty muddy. And really, as far as comfort goes, I kind of speculated that this bike would not be very comfortable for someone who is as tall as I am on a really long ride, but I don't have any complaints as far as comfort goes. Would I prefer a bigger bike on a longer ride? Sure, absolutely, but this one's not really been bad at all. Not as bad as I expected it to be. Yeah, this part is wet and muddy and sloshy and soft, and the bike's doing a pretty good job with it. But it gets a lot worse up here. And another thing that I'm reminded of as I go through this mud and slush and slosh is that this bike does not include fenders. Nice thing is, fenders are pretty cheap, so if you need to get any, you can pick them up for next to nothing. But I definitely probably have a muddy, wet butt right now. Okay, so I'm eating my own words here. I said that pedal assist level 2 feels a bit sluggish to really use in any realistic scenarios, but through this mud and slosh, pedal assist level 2 is a little bit too much at times. All right, so we are in day 2 now of our testing, and today's test is going to be a range test. And I took the bike home last night, charged it up to full. I got the odometer reset. I weigh 200 pounds. I'm going to ride the bike in pedal assist level 3, which should keep us around 17 miles per hour. And I am going to do very minimal casual pedaling in 7th gear to help it along. But for the most part, I'm going to let the bike do most of the work, and we're going to see how far it's going to take us. Now keep in mind, like I mentioned, I weigh 200 pounds. I'm riding it in pedal assist level 3, about 17 miles per hour on mostly flat ground, but we are going to have a few hills to deal with today. If you ride different than I do, if you weigh different than I do, all of that stuff is going to have a factor in how much battery life you get out of this bike. And as I mentioned before, it is a 10.4 amp hour bike, so I'm hoping we can get a 20-mile range out of this bike today, but we're just going to have to run it and see what happens. Okay, I'm taking a break from the range test here because I just thought this would be a pretty cool spot to go riding through, and it should make for some nice scenery in the video. This is a pretty cool little spot here. And the bike's not doing bad off-road at all. But it being a 20-inch fat tire bike, it's to be expected. Here's a pretty good opportunity for a hill climb test. I don't know if you can tell from the fisheye on this camera how steep this ramp is here, but I'll throw a photo in so you can see for yourself. All right, here we go. I'm in pedal assist level 5. I am not going to pedal, and hopefully that gets us up this hill under the bike's own power. Here we go. It's not real torquey on its takeoff, but it's climbing it no problem. I don't have any doubts that it's going to make it all the way to the top. I mean, normally I'd be pedaling a little bit, but for this test, we're going to let it do it on its own. Okay, that wood is slick when it's wet. I will keep that in mind on the way back, but yeah, this lumber, when it's wet, it's pretty slick. All right, so I've made it back to the beginning of the trail here, and at this point I'm at 2 bars, pretty steady, and I'm just gonna ride around and see how much of this I can burn and see how many miles I can get out of it, because I'm close enough now that if the battery runs out, I'll be all right. Okay, we ticked over 20 miles a little while ago, and we're back to the beginning of the ride here, so I'm gonna call it. We're down to 1 bar. This thing might take us a little bit further, but I rode the bike in pedal assist level 3 for most of the trip. Most of it was on flat, clean pavement. There were a few muddy spots here and there were a few hills. I weigh 200 pounds. If you weigh more or less than me, that's going to have an effect on how many miles you get out of the bike. And if you ride it any faster or slower, that's also going to dictate how many miles you get. But I think for most people, for, you know, average riding, about 20 miles is what you can expect out of this bike. So my final thoughts on the Qlife Racer 24x6-inch Tiny Titan. I think this is a great little bike for people who are looking for the mountain style bike, but you know, you're a shorter rider, because most of the other options are either folding bikes or moped style bikes. This thing is lightweight. You don't get the folding capability, but you get a lot better handling. And short riders are going to have a blast on this bike. It's going to be the perfect bike for them. Medium-sized riders, well, they're going to have fun for a little while, but not on a long trip. And really tall riders are going to be absolutely cramped and miserable on this bike. The bike comes in at a great price point at just under $600, but a couple of corners did have to be cut to keep that price low, namely the smaller battery and the mechanical disc brakes. Other than that, it's a fantastic bike at a fantastic price. I'm definitely going to do a follow-up video on this bike, because I'm going to make a couple little modifications for a shorter rider. And I'm going to follow up on this bike in the spring when we got some nicer weather and everything's not so dead and gray. It'll make for a lot more pretty video. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.